Hiya, my name is Amy. Now, welcome to a show called Antics. Now, this is a show where I'm going to be discussing animals that I personally have worked with or animals that just inspire me in general. So, a little bit of background about myself. I'm a trained zookeeper. I have been an accurist. I've also run a few open farms and schools farms. So, I've got quite a bit of a varied background when it comes to working with animals. So, I decided while we were all in lockdown that I was going to make my own show, sort of talking about the animals that I've worked with personally, or like I said, animals that I'm inspired by or that I just generally love. So I thought I'd start with one that is very close to my heart. I'm going to talk about penguins. Now, penguins, from when I was a very, very young child, I grew up wanting to be a zookeeper, and I've always said that I wanted to work with penguins. I wrote reports about it, I did science projects about them, I went to London Zoo and did research, the whole lot. So this is one that's quite personal and quite an easy subject to talk about. I know, sadly, quite a lot of facts about penguins. I didn't have much in the way of footage about penguins though, so I had to go and find some stock footage of penguins to try and explain a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about here today. I'd like to start off by talking about how penguins are an amazing species of bird that obviously are flightless, but they still fly technically underwater. If we have a look at the footage that I've got, you can see that the penguins are cutting their way through the water and flapping their wings as if they were actually flying. Now, penguins do this exactly the same way as they would do if they were a flying bird. I've used footage here, as you can see, of seagulls. Seagulls are plentiful here in England, and the seagulls themselves fly and demonstrate how a penguin's wings would work if they were still a flying bird. As you can see, when the penguins are flapping their wings underwater, it helps guide them and push them through the water. Same way as if a bird was flying, that it would be causing a up push of its wings to help it keep it in the air. Now, penguins are a pretty incredible species of bird. They are all in the southern hemisphere. Apart from one species, you will find a species of penguins called the Galapagos penguins. Now, they are the only species that have been discovered to date to actually travel to the northern hemisphere, which is above the equator, whereas every other species of penguins you will find live below the equator in the southern hemisphere. One of the amazing things that I first learned about penguins, which kind of blew my mind a little bit, being that they are birds, they can actually drink seawater. So we as humans and many other animals, if we were to ingest a lot of seawater, it would make us sick and we would possibly, if we drank enough, would die. Penguins, on the other hand, can. They can ingest seawater, drink seawater, and they'll be absolutely fine. There's no damage done to the penguins by doing this. Penguins come in an amazing variety of sizes. So the emperor penguin is the largest penguin in the world. They stand around 120 centimeters tall, whereas the smallest penguin in the world is called the little blue, which is unbelievably sweet. And the little blue will actually stand at around 33 centimeters. So that's the size of a ruler, effectively. And that's the smallest species, so you can kind of cuddle them in your hands. Now, penguins have an amazing body type, as we've already mentioned, with the wings and their sort of dart shape when they're in the water to keep them nice and streamlined. Penguins also use their black and white colouring. All species of penguins have some sort of black and white differential, or sort of the difference, top and bottom. Now, this is to help them be camouflaged in the water. Penguins, when they swim, their black is normally on the back of them. So when they swim from above, if you're looking down on a penguin, they're very difficult to see. And vice versa, you've got the nice white bellies of penguins. Now, they're normally underneath the penguins, as I've just mentioned. And so when you're looking up at a penguin, you can't really see much if you're underwater because they sort of blend in with the water surface above you. I was amazingly lucky to work at a zoo near here, and they had Humboldt penguins and rockhoppers. Humboldts are gorgeous, and they have little speckled dots all over their bellies. And these speckled dots actually are like fingerprints. So each one is completely individual, and they are their own individual fingerprints. It'll be a way to tell them apart from a group. You can have a look at their spots and know which penguin you're looking at. The unfortunate side of penguins is, out of all the animals I've worked with, out of all the animals I've worked with, penguins are the worst smelling. Their nest boxes absolutely reek. I have never smelt anything as bad as having to clean out a penguin's nest box, because they effectively take the nest box that you give them and they actually line the inside of it with their droppings. It's disgusting. It smells horrendous. Now, penguins, as obviously mentioned, they are sea creatures, so they live on, the sea. So they have fish and sprats and other small sea animals, anything they can really get their hands on that they will ingest. But yes, as I've mentioned, I've been lucky enough to sort of explore the animal world a little bit in my studies and in my career. And so I hope you join me again for another episode where I'll be talking a little bit more in these animal antics about animals that I've had the pleasure of working with and sometimes the stink.